They told you that plant-based meant healthy. That shifting to soy milk, veggie burgers, and meatless proteins would keep your heart strong, your energy steady, and your muscles young. But what if I told you that the very foods you added for health might be the reason your legs feel weaker today? Not in a dramatic way, not overnight, but in small, quiet ways. You rise from your bed, but your legs hesitate. You step toward the stairs, and suddenly they feel steeper, heavier. You've done everything right, or so you thought. Swapped red meat for lentils, whey for pea protein, eggs for tofu, and still, your thighs feel softer. Your knees wobble just a little more than last year, and your morning walks don't feel so easy anymore. You're not imagining it, and it's not just age. After working with thousands of older adults across the country, I've seen this same pattern again and again. Seniors who eat clean, exercise regularly, follow the advice, and yet their strength keeps slipping. Here's the twist. Not all plant-based proteins are created equal, and some of the most popular ones, the ones sitting right now in your pantry, may be quietly interfering with your muscle repair, disrupting your hormones, and weakening the very foundation of your body, your legs. Even worse, most doctors don't warn you about them, because on the surface, they seem healthy. But hidden inside, these proteins can trigger inflammation, block amino acid absorption, and slowly strip away the strength you need to move, to stand, to stay independent. And it starts with one food that's been promoted for decades as heart healthy. Even though it may quietly sabotage your lower body strength from within. If you've ever felt a strange tiredness in your legs even after resting, or wondered why your balance feels shakier even though you're doing everything right, this message is for you. And if you're nodding right now because it sounds familiar, stay with me. Subscribe to Senior Fit, where growing older doesn't mean growing smaller, it means growing wiser, stronger, and still moving forward. Now, let's look at the first plant-based protein that could be quietly weakening your legs. Let's begin with a name you've probably seen on dozens of healthy products: soy protein isolate. It sounds clean. It's plant-based. It's marketed for heart health. It's found in shakes, bars, meatless burgers, and cereals made especially for people trying to eat smart after 60. But what few people know is this. Soy protein isolate isn't just soy. It's a highly refined powder stripped from the natural soybean, processed with solvents, and concentrated to increase protein content while removing most of the original fiber, minerals, and nutrients. And for seniors, that's a problem. Because what's left behind is a compound rich in phytoestrogens, plant-based chemicals that mimic estrogen in the body. You might think, so what? But here's what happens inside as you age, especially past 60, maintaining the right balance of muscle-building hormones, including testosterone and growth hormone, becomes harder. Even a small disruption can tip the scales. And when you're consuming phytoestrogens daily hidden in your so-called health foods, your hormonal balance can shift in subtle ways. The result? Your muscles rebuild more slowly. Your legs recover less efficiently after walking or climbing. Your strength starts to drain, quietly. One of my patients, Robert, 74, was doing everything right. Every morning, he'd add soy protein powder to his green smoothie. It made him feel clean, he said. But over time, he noticed his legs felt more sluggish, his knees stiffer, and his walking slower. We ran a hormone panel, nothing alarming, just slightly off, but enough to matter. So, we removed soy protein isolate and replaced it with whole food proteins like eggs, lentils, and even a little organic chicken. 3 weeks later, Robert came back smiling. I don't know how to explain it. He told me, "My legs feel like mine again." And that's when I realized this wasn't about one food. It was about a pattern. Because soy protein isolate doesn't just affect hormones. Many products that contain it are also packed with additives, stabilizers, and synthetic flavors. Your aging body has to work harder to filter them out. That toxic load over time leads to chronic inflammation, the kind that settles deep in the knees, the kind that makes your legs feel heavy no matter how much you stretch, the kind that steals your strength without a sound. Now, this doesn't mean all soy is bad. Fermented forms like tempeh or miso in moderation can still be part of a balanced diet. But if you're regularly consuming soy protein, isolate in powders, bars, or packaged meals, it's time to take a closer look. Because it might not be building you up. It might be slowly breaking you down. But soy isn't the only silent culprit. Coming up next is a plant-based protein praised for mimicking meat often used in stir-fries and vegetarian plates, but it could be setting off a wave of inflammation inside your joints and muscles, especially in your legs. Let's look at it more closely. Let's talk about two meat-like plant proteins that sound like progress, but may quietly set you back. Seitan made from wheat gluten, and TVP or textured vegetable protein made from defatted soy flour. You've probably seen them praised in vegetarian recipes. They look like meat, they chew like meat, and for many older adults trying to avoid cholesterol, they feel like a smart swap. But here's what most don't realize. Seitan is pure gluten, the very protein in wheat that gives bread its stretch. And while gluten isn't inherently bad for everyone, in high concentrations like in seitan, it becomes much harder for an aging digestive system to break down. Your gut becomes slower, your enzyme production weakens, and gluten that once passed without issue now lingers. It irritates. It inflames. That gut inflammation doesn't stay in your belly. It spreads to your joints, to your knees, to your lower back, and especially to your legs. One of my clients, Susan, age 72, was proud of her vegan stir-fries. She'd saute seitan with veggies every evening. It tasted great. She felt light. But her legs didn't. She started waking with tightness in her calves. Her knees clicked, and walking down the porch steps became uncomfortable. She thought it was just aging. But after we removed seitan from her meals and replaced it with natural, easier-to-digest proteins like soft-cooked beans, eggs, and fermented tempeh, something shifted. Within 2 weeks, her knee stiffness was gone. Now let's move to TVP, a name that sounds almost harmless. Textured, vegetable, protein. It's often sold frozen or dry, used in tacos, chili, or meatless crumbles. But here's the truth behind the label. TVP is made by chemically stripping soybeans of their fat, then texturizing the leftover protein using a chemical solvent called hexane, a byproduct of petroleum. Even though the end product looks clean, the process isn't, and trace residues of hexane, along with preservatives and artificial flavorings, often remain in the final product. Your kidneys and liver have to work harder to detox them, and for seniors, that workload takes a toll quietly. Inflammation builds, recovery slows, muscle repair weakens, and the illusion of eating healthy collapses under the weight of toxic buildup. Helen, age 70, was in this exact situation. She thought she was doing everything right. She made veggie tacos with TVP 3 times a week. Her diet was low-fat, high-protein, and plant-based. But she couldn't figure out why her legs felt heavier, why walking from her car to the store wore her out. Once she removed TVP and added back real nourishment slow-cooked lentils, a bit of turkey, even bone broth, her symptoms began to fade. And so did the feeling of dragging her legs like sandbags. TVP and seitan might fill your stomach, but they don't feed your strength. They mimic meat, but they don't match it in nutritional depth or muscle support. And while they may appear light, They leave behind a weight no scale can measure, a heaviness in the legs, in the joints, in the spirit. But we're not done yet, because up next is a protein that looks soft, natural, and innocent. It's made from one of the first vegetables you ever ate. It blends smoothly into shakes, and yet, it may be the reason your balance is off and your legs feel like they're giving up. Let's take a look. Let's talk about peas. Wholesome, comforting, a vegetable most of us grew up with on our plates. But today's pea-based products are not the same peas you remember from childhood. We're not talking about a spoonful of soft peas beside your mashed potatoes. We're talking about pea protein concentrate, a highly processed extract used in plant-based milks, protein powders, snack bars, and even healthy frozen meals. It's everywhere, and it's marketed as gentle, clean, and easily digestible. But for seniors, especially those over 60, it may be anything but. Here's why. When manufacturers isolate protein from peas, they strip away everything else: the fiber, the enzymes, the co-nutrients that help your body digest it naturally. What's left behind is a concentrated form of protein that your digestive system doesn't recognize as food, but as a foreign compound. And your gut, it struggles. For older adults, digestion already slows down. You produce less stomach acid, your enzyme output decreases, your gut lining thins. So when you ingest pea protein concentrate, your body often can't break it down fully. What happens next? Bloating, gas, inflammation in the gut lining, poor absorption of nutrients, and eventually, muscle loss. Because when your gut can't absorb amino acids properly, your muscles, especially the ones in your legs, suffer. You may be eating enough protein, but your body isn't getting it. I once worked with Leonard, age 68. He had embraced a plant-based lifestyle, proud of his choices. Every day, he made a pea protein shake for breakfast. He thought he was fueling his body. But over time, he noticed changes. His balance wasn't steady. Getting up from the couch felt harder. His legs, he said, felt disconnected. When we tested his inflammation markers, they were elevated. When we examined his digestive function, it was compromised, and the pea protein, it was the trigger. We swapped his morning shake with an egg-based smoothie, added fermented yogurt, and slowly reintroduced whole foods like quinoa, oats, and soft legumes. Within weeks, he said, it's like my legs started waking up again. It's not that peas are dangerous. Whole peas, gently cooked and eaten with other foods, can be nourishing. But the concentrated form is what changes everything. Because when food is processed so far from its natural state, your body no longer recognizes it, and your legs, your strength, your independence pay the price. And it's not just pea protein in powders. It's also hidden in so-called fortified plant milks, the ones that say extra protein or dairy-free nutrition. You may even be sipping it right now. But inside those cartons are added isolates, synthetic amino acids, and gums that can silently inflame your body from within. Let's talk about that next, because what you pour into your morning coffee may be doing more harm than you ever imagined. You wake up, you stretch, you walk into the kitchen, and like so many mornings before, you reach for your favorite carton of plant-based milk. Maybe it's oat, maybe almond, maybe soy or flax. And this time, the label feels even better. Fortified with protein, heart healthy, 0 cholesterol. So you pour it into your coffee, or your smoothie, or your cereal bowl. And you feel like you've done something good for your body. But here's what the label doesn't tell you. Most fortified plant milks are not made from whole ingredients. They're engineered often with added protein isolates, gums, emulsifiers, and synthetic vitamins. And while they taste smooth, inside your body, they may create turbulence. Let's break it down. The added protein in many plant milks comes from pea protein isolate, rice protein, or synthetic amino acids. The very compounds we already know can cause digestive stress and poor nutrient absorption in older adults. These milks also contain additives like guar gum, carrageenan, and gellan gum to mimic creaminess. But these thickeners, they don't just sit in your stomach. They interact with your gut lining. They can cause bloating, slow motility, and mild inflammation, especially in sensitive digestive systems over 60. And the problem doesn't stop there. Let's talk about brown rice protein powder. At first glance, it seems harmless. Rice is gentle, hypoallergenic, plant-based. But what you might not know is that rice, especially brown rice, has a natural tendency to absorb arsenic from the soil. And when that rice is concentrated into a protein powder, those traces of arsenic don't disappear. They become more concentrated. Over time, daily use of rice protein can lead to the buildup of small amounts of heavy metals in your system, including arsenic and lead. These toxins disrupt nerve signals. They damage mitochondrial function, the energy centers in your muscle cells, and they interfere with how your body moves, balances, and repairs itself. One of my patients, Charles, age 69, came in with a simple complaint. His calves felt tight. His steps felt shorter. And sometimes he noticed a faint tingling in his feet. He wasn't diabetic. He didn't have circulation issues, but he was drinking a rice protein shake every day. When we tested his system, we found elevated levels of arsenic still within legal limits, but higher than optimal. We removed the rice powder and rebuilt his diet with safer proteins. In a few weeks, his symptoms faded. His legs felt lighter. His balance returned. And perhaps more importantly, his peace of mind returned too. So, what does this all mean for you? If you're pouring fortified plant milk into your mug each morning, if you're scooping brown rice protein into your shake, if your legs feel tired, bloated, or weaker lately, it's not just about what you're eating, it's about what your body can truly use. And when we over-rely on powders, isolates, and engineered milks, we may end up undernourished in the places that matter most: our muscles, our joints, our legs. But perhaps the most dangerous mistake of all isn't a specific food, but something even more subtle. It's the belief that all protein is the same, that as long as we get enough, we're safe. But the truth is, your legs depend on the quality of the protein you consume, not just the quantity. And that leads us to the next silent threat. A mistake I see almost every week in older adults, especially those trying their best to eat clean, light, and plant-forward. Let's uncover it next. You're eating healthy, whole grains, nuts, a few veggies, maybe even a little plant-based milk or tofu. Your plate looks clean, balanced, and full of life. But something still feels off. Your legs, they're not bouncing back. You walk, but your strides feel shorter. You stand, but it takes more effort. You begin to wonder, is it just aging? Maybe, but maybe not. Because one of the most common mistakes I see in seniors who eat plant-based, or even mostly plant-forward, is this: they consume incomplete proteins. Let me explain. Your muscles need amino acids to grow, repair, and stay strong. There are 20 amino acids in total, but 9 of them are essential, meaning your body cannot make them on its own. You have to get them from food. And unless a food contains all 9 essential amino acids, it's considered an incomplete protein. Most plant proteins like nuts, grains, legumes, and seeds lack one or more of these. It's not about how much protein you're eating. It's about whether the protein you eat contains what your muscles actually need to stay strong. Let's say you eat a bowl of brown rice for lunch, then a salad with chickpeas at dinner, maybe toast with peanut butter for breakfast. You might think you've covered your protein needs for the day. But what if those meals are all missing one key amino acid like lysine or leucine? Your body can't build or maintain muscle properly without them, and it starts borrowing from your own muscle stores, especially in your legs, where large muscle groups are the first to shrink when undernourished. This is called muscle catabolism, and over time, it shows up as slower walking speed, difficulty rising from a chair, poor balance, fatigue after simple tasks. And it's silent. You won't feel sore. You won't feel sick. Just weaker. I remember working with Jean, a retired nurse in her late 60s. She followed a strict plant-based diet, lots of vegetables, grains, tofu, and nuts. But her legs felt unreliable. She feared steps. She felt unsure walking outside alone. We reviewed her meals and realized she was never combining proteins in a way that created a complete amino acid profile. So we made a few simple changes. She paired lentils with brown rice. She added eggs to her breakfast twice a week. And once a week, she had a small portion of cottage cheese or Greek yogurt. That's it. Within a month, Jean emailed me with 4 words. I feel grounded again. And that's the key. You don't need to eat more. You need to eat smarter. You need proteins that work together to give your body what it's truly asking for. Because your legs don't get stronger from calories, they get stronger from complete repair. And that requires the right fuel with the right parts. Unfortunately, most labels won't tell you this. They'll list protein grams. They'll boast about plant-powered or clean nutrition. But your body knows the truth, and when it doesn't get what it needs, it will begin to break down what it already has. Your strength, your muscle, your freedom. But there's good news. Your body hasn't stopped listening. Even now, it's ready to rebuild if you give it the right signals. And in the final part of this journey, we'll bring everything together so you can take back control of your legs, your strength, and your health starting today. If you've made it this far, take a moment, because you've already done something powerful. You've questioned what you've been told. You've listened not just to me, but to your body. And maybe you've begun to connect the dots. This wasn't just a list of foods. This was a wake-up call for your legs, your independence, your life. You see, most people don't lose their strength overnight. It's not some dramatic collapse. It's quiet, subtle, and slow. It begins with hesitation, then tightness, then weakness, until one day you realize the stairs feel taller, the couch feels lower, and walking to the mailbox feels like work. And in that moment, you may whisper, "Is this just how it is now?" But it doesn't have to be. The foods we've talked about, soy protein, isolate, seitan, TVP, pea protein, fortified plant milks, rice powders, incomplete proteins. They're not evil, but they're not neutral either. They were marketed as healthy, but for older adults, they may quietly sabotage the very thing you're trying to protect. Your strength. I've seen it too many times. Seniors doing everything right, following the labels, eating clean, still growing weaker. Still unsure why their legs just don't feel like they used to. But here's what gives me hope. Once they removed the silent threats and replaced them with real nourishment, everything began to shift. They weren't lifting weights or running miles. They were just feeding their bodies the way those bodies were designed to be fed. Eggs, cooked legumes, bone broth, fish, collagen-rich soups, balanced protein combinations, less powder, more presence. And most importantly, they were no longer at war with food. They found peace, and with that peace came power. So let me say this, clearly and with love. You are not broken, you are not too old, and you are not out of time. Your body is waiting, patiently, quietly, listening for the first good signal. It doesn't take perfection, just consistency. Not punishment, just understanding. And your strength. It's not gone, it's simply sleeping, waiting for the right moment to return. That moment could be tomorrow morning. It could be the next bite you take. It could be the next choice you make in your kitchen. Let it be today. Because when your legs are strong, you are free. Free to walk, to dance, to stand tall, to live the life you deserve. And if you found yourself in any part of this message, if your legs have been speaking to you too, I invite you to continue this journey with us. Subscribe to Senior Fit, where we help you turn knowledge into strength and age into a new beginning. And please share this video with someone you love, a spouse, a friend, a sibling, someone who may be quietly struggling and looking for a way forward. Because no one deserves to lose their strength in silence. And here, in this community, we remind each other, getting older doesn't mean giving up. It means learning, rebuilding, and still moving forward. One step, one meal, one morning at a time. Your legs are listening, and now they're ready to begin again.